Tammy, let me just go through a couple issues here and then show you how to resolve them. So the first one would be right here where we have stroke versus no stroke. Um, Here we're uh, somehow the data in here is incorrect because this should be the average BMI for everyone who had a stroke, average BMI who had no stroke. This seems reasonable, but the one, certainly there's not an average BMI of 1 for no stroke. So my guess is this was selecting all of column A and this was selecting all of column B or something like that. This was also off. So this one here looks like it was actually done correctly. The BMI without stroke and the BMI with stroke. And so what you did is you used this data from column A that was right beside the zeros, first group, and then you used down here the BMA, where is it? Down here, the BMI that was with the second group that did have a stroke, you used that for your second data set. And that's exactly correct. That's what you need to do. However, there was still something that caught my eye. An average BMI of the people with stroke of 48, that seems very high. And when I looked in, I think I figured out what happened. Somehow, the original data, as you were sorting it, became disconnected so that column A got sorted separately from column B. And the way I know that is that column A is completely in order here. And um, basically, once you have the strokes, the person with stroke with the least BMI was 40 because this was still continuing the sort from column A. So all that to say, somehow the two columns that had originally, each row represented a person, they got disconnected and sorted separately, which makes all the data useless. So what I did, I recopied the original data, both for me and I'm going to have you follow the same steps on this video. And what I'm going to do here is a little different than I showed you before. I think this should take care of your problem, whatever had happened. So I'm going to first select um, columns A and B. And notice I clicked on A and dragged over. You can also click on the A, hold down Control or maybe Command on a Mac, and then left click on the B also. You want to select these two columns, and then here's a filter. So I'm going to click on the filter. The nice thing about a filter is that I can sort on one column and the other column will stay attached to it. Now that should happen in theory anyway, but with a filter, it's guaranteed that it will happen. So if I go to stroke and just sort this A to Z, you can see that it's sorted here, that I have the zeros all in order first. These are the non-stroke patients. And all the way down at the bottom, here I have my ones who did report a stroke. And if you look in there, there's people with BMIs of 23, 27, 25. This is much more what we would expect. Sure, we have 40, 45. We do have some high ones. But what happened is that filter preserved the rows. So each row still represents a person. We just put the non-stroke ones on top and the stroke ones on bottom. Now, after we do that, what you did next should be exactly like what you actually did. I think you did this part really correctly. So I need to go to my Excel Miner analysis toolpack, and I'm going to grab my need my test here, and I'm assuming, let me double check. Okay, I'm assuming unequal variances. My variable one range, remember this is the BMI. Both of these should represent the BMI. It's just one is for the non-stroke and one's for the stroke. So I'm first going to get the non-stroke. And I select the first one, roll this down until I get to the end of my zeros, right there. Hold down Shift, click. Mac, I forget what that is, maybe Command, click. And then I'm going to click in this variable in range. So this represents the BMI for all the people who did not have a stroke. Next, I'm going to select over here. So these are the ones that did have stroke. I'm also selecting BMI. I held down Shift and I clicked there. And then I'm just going to click in this range. So here I have the range of all the BMI for the non-stroke, range of BMI for the stroke. And I think you did that part correctly. So there shouldn't be any there. There should be 0. I do not have labels there. I only selected numbers. I did not select any data letters there. And I'm going to match your output range because I'll show you a little let us do. So you started your output in D2 is where you, even though that wasn't the correct output, I'll show you why I'm doing that later. Just a second. Put my output range as D2, right there, D2. Okay, that should paste. And now what I can do, because because I pasted exactly where you pasted before, this is one of those advantages of formulas. I can just grab this stuff here. So it looks like you started in H4. Copy that to the clipboard and H4, paste. All of those, stretch this out a little bit, all of these automatically will be for the new correct data that you see here. So you don't even have to go through the problem of retyping the formula as long as everything's in the same place, which it was. This output started at D2 and these other things you did start at H4. So this should now be the correct, and notice that this is the one with no stroke, stroke, and both of these are reasonable numbers for an average BMI of the people in that group. Okay, now I'll let you continue with your interpretation. You'll notice this p-value. You'll need to interpret what that means. The fact that it's a 0.39, what does that mean? The fact that this hedges G is 0.16. I don't think the negative really matters there. That just tells you which group was lower, but we can already see the no stroke group had a lower BMI on average than the stroke group. The question is, was it significantly lower? And that's what I'll look for in your comments. Okay, just let me know if you have questions going through that process.